Democrats. It is Monday, April 24th, and it's time for the Chair's Daily Live. Happy Monday. I say happy Monday. There's a lot to cover, and it's Monday, so I have to give us a gun violence update. I don't want to talk about all the other gun violence over the weekend. I want to talk about gun violence today. Today on Rose State College's campus in Midwest City, Oklahoma, there was an active shooter situation where one person died and the person who shot them is in custody. Apparently, they knew each other through some sort of domestic situation. Yet and still, it was an active shooter situation on yet another college campus. And this one was real. It wasn't an incident of swatting. And apparently, the good guys with the gun were able to apprehend and arrest the shooter. This brings to mind the argument of, if there's someone armed, there will be less shootings. This person went to campus to shoot someone they knew. And their intended target is no longer alive. There were good guys with guns. And my asterisks aren't because I don't believe that security guards are good guys. I just don't like the argument of if there's a good guy with a gun, the shootings won't happen. The shooting happened. And the person who was the shooter was apprehended. But there's still a person dead. And I contend it's because of the over-proliferation of gun ownership in our country and in our state. In a state where we brag about being a Second Amendment sanctuary state. In a state where we cannot have common sense conversations about common sense gun legislation. As I try to go about my day, just being a human being, getting the things on my to-do list done, I have to get notified that in my state, there's yet another active shooting situation on a college campus where there was loss of life. But that's where we live, and it doesn't feel like anything's going to change. And what annoys me about this is that when you hear about, you hear the rhetoric, right? It's rhetoric, because what they may say that what I'm saying is rhetoric, but what I'm asking for is common sense conversations about common sense gun legislation. That's not rhetoric. That's a real thing that needs to happen. Because every time there's a shooting, it's the same thing. It's not the gun, it's the people, it's a mental health problem, it's, substance abuse, blah, blah, blah. But the one common thing when I talk about gun violence is that I'm talking about gun violence. We won't have that conversation. And then I think about Liz Potter in Michigan, who killed Dewante Wright, who served 16 months and is out. Served 16 months and is out. When I think about the man in Texas that murdered Black Lives Matter activists, and the governor is sitting, waiting, ready to set that man free. It is past time to have real conversation about common sense gun legislation in our country. How many more Americans have to be sacrificed? How many? And I don't want to know the number. I hope we've hit that number, but it doesn't feel like it. All righty, so I'm going to move on. And it's tangential. I like to say when I'm out and about talking, I'm probably the most partisan person you'll meet. I get to say that because I'm in Oklahoma, and in my position, I am partisan and I am unapologetically partisan. I haven't always been this partisan. I've always been a registered Democrat, but I haven't always been this partisan. And when people tell me that they vote for the person and not the party, when they vote for the values and not the party, and they're in Oklahoma, I think No, you don't. You're voting for the latter. The Democrat and the Republican are never like this in our state anymore. They're like this and they're like this. And if you're having trouble deciding between folks that are this far on the spectrum, you're not paying attention. And that's where our politics are in this state. They are this far apart. And so when you say that you're not voting, that you're voting, you don't want to register as a Democrat because you want to see no. The Democrats believe that a rising tide rises all ships. And the Republicans believe we need to scare the bejesus out of everybody so they'll vote for us because we protect certain people. And you want to be part of the certain people that get protected. That's where we are in our party. So let me give you some specific examples before you say, well, you're the chair of the party and you're biased. I am biased because I know the people that I'm talking about. On a federal level, the budget that is being proposed by the Republicans right now proposes a 22% cut in services for veterans. 22% cut in services to veterans. Some of the specific things are job training for veterans experiencing homelessness, cut. Cutting housing assistance for 50,000 veterans, cut. Cutting food assistance for veterans, cut. On one hand, they try to own patriotism. They try to make it their issue that Democrats don't like patriots, that Democrats don't like service people, which is crap. And then their budget goes in and slashes by 1/5 of the budget directly to veterans. That doesn't sound patriotic to me at all. You got to watch their actions and not listen to what they say on the Sunday shows, right? They wrap themselves in the flag on the Sunday shows. But when they get in the room and they get ready to pass legislation, they do a 22% cut to veterans. Now, let me bring it back to the state. I hate to say his name, Governor Stitt. His proposed education budget will slash $200 million from public education. $200 million from public education. Specifically, it's going to reduce the amount allocated for teacher raises, and it's going to reduce classroom spending. $200 million to make sure that folks who can already afford private schools get a little kickback on their taxes to take their kids out of public schools. You can't say that you're the education governor, that you care about education and it's all about parents' choice when you are taking $200 million out of public schools. Could that be why we're number 47? I don't know. Speaking of education, the superintendent of public instruction has been invited, both privately and publicly. He's been called out on Twitter, in the news, on Facebook. He's been invited to come speak with the legislature, the state legislature, and has yet to come. So now they're talking about serving him with a subpoena to compel him to come. I don't even know what to say about that, except this shows you how much he cares about doing the job that he was elected to do. Let me take it nationally again. In North Carolina, the current lieutenant governor is running for governor. His platform is that he was formed to block rights for LGBTQ citizens. That's his whole platform, is that he's running to block the rights of LGBTQ citizens. And as soon as he released that statement, his ratings shot up. I'm not even sure what that's about. But just in case you're wondering, yes, he's a Republican. So, one more thing. During COVID, the federal government under President Biden increased funding so that more people had access to Medicaid and affordable health care. Those benefits are set to expire on Sunday. So in Oklahoma, that's about 300,000 people who will be losing their health care coverage this Sunday. That tells you a lot about what our Republican-led legislature and our Republican-led cabinet thinks of Oklahomans. 300,000 people will be losing health care coverage, and it's barely in the news. We are not the same. We are not close to the same. It's not one iffy kind of sort of thing. The views are wide apart. One party Melissa Provenzano got a bill through that will increase the amount of time that teachers get for planning and reduce the amount of redundant training that they have to go through. That's a very specific bill that benefits someone that you can pin it down to. One party believes that we are all in this together. And when our brother does well, we do well. And one party believes that only certain people deserve benefits. And apparently it's not veterans. Apparently it's not people who want to go to public school. Apparently it's not LGBT folks. And it's not folks who are getting ready to be underinsured, if not totally uninsured. They are not the same. They are not the same. And for the people who think that we are too politicized and too partisan, maybe we are. But pay attention and vote for the party who cares about the collective. Get involved with the party who cares about the collective. The Oklahoma Democratic Party is in the middle of reorganizing and inviting new volunteers in. There are ways to be part of your county party, your district party, your state party. There are ways to be part of all of the constituency groups. If you don't want to join in on the big state party level and you want to join in with the women's, there's a women's federation where you can join in where you feel comfortable. There's LGBT federation, Stonewall Federation, where you can get in where you feel comfortable, get your feet wet, and then join the collective. That's where we are. There's a veterans federation. There's all kinds of federation. Whatever group you think you identify with, I bet we have a group for you to join. Come, get involved. Help us elect more Democrats so we can affect legislation. So that when there's a conversation about 300,000 people losing their health care coverage, that it gets loud coverage and maybe we do something about it. So that when we have more and more school shootings, that there's actual legislation that addresses it rather than rhetoric. So that when there are 40 bills, 40 anti-LGBTQ bills, that there's a voice of reason saying this feels like an outsized focus on the negative for one group. Join our party. Help us change our legislation. Help us make Oklahoma a welcoming state because we're inclusive, because we care about diversity, because we care about everyone who lives here. Of course, I'm going to make the plea. Join the Democratic Party. There are all kinds of ways to join now. Check out our website at okdemocrats.org and check out our Facebook. And on our Facebook, you should see most of the constituency groups where you can see where you can get in and where you can get your feet wet on a smaller group before you join the big collective. Or you can just show up at your county party and offer to volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers. Thanks for joining me. And I'll this evening on the Hamilton Report with our Executive Director, Scott Hamilton, he will be talking about the crisis that Oklahoma is facing with dealing with the number of people facing dealing with homelessness right now. At the same time, while our governor disbanded the Interagency Council on Homelessness. That's where we live. Join Scott at 6:30, and I'll be back here tomorrow at 4:15. You guys have a great evening.